Okay, hello, folks. Welcome everyone to the last hour of the Connecticut Affordable Housing Conference. Thank you all for spending the past 2 days for us with us here. We have a great last session for you all. Before I hand it over, we have just a few things to cover first. We would love for you to join us in having this discussion on social media. If you'd like to do that, you can use the hashtag CAHC 2024. The theme for our conference this year is Here for Housing. This is a really great opportunity for us all to convene, collaborate, and have conversations about how we can advance housing affordability, creation, choice, and stability here in Connecticut. We have a great session for you coming up titled Young Voices Amplified: Advocacy, the Future of Affordable Housing and Participatory Action Research. I actually had the opportunity to talk to some of the folks that you're going to be hearing from today this past summer, and I think you will be just as impressed as I was when you hear the work that they're participating in. Just a few things and a few people to thank first. First, our presenting sponsor, the Connecticut Housing Finance Authority, our visionary sponsor, Wells Fargo, as well as all of our champion sponsors, Robinson and Cole, Cohn Resnick, the Connecticut Department of Housing, J. D'Amelia and Associates, Trinity Financial, and Liberty Bank. We also have a great group of foundation sponsors. Without our sponsors' deep support, we could not pull off this wonderful 2-day conference. Their support helps us to make this event free and accessible to all, which we love. I'd also like to give a shout out to the investor sponsors for this session, Welcome Home Hartford, as well as Housing Enterprises, Inc., Affordable Housing Consultants. Couple final housekeeping items. Just a reminder that all of our sessions are being recorded and they will be made available as soon as possible on the partnership's YouTube page for you to revisit. In that vein, please keep your microphone muted unless you are called upon to speak. If anyone encounters any technology issues, you can feel free to chat myself or my colleague Amy, who is also on the chat. Last but not least, we would love your feedback. So at the end of this session, you can find in the Zoom lobby a megaphone icon to provide us with feedback on this session and other sessions that you've participated in today. Your feedback is really essential for us and helps us to improve the conference year after year. And with that, I am going to hand it over to this excellent group of speakers. And I believe we'll be starting with Marceline.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Marceline Campbell-Abenezu. Welcome to Voices Amplified. So we are the Youth Action Network run by Angel, Angel and Caitlin. And including our members here today are Skylar
Hi.
and Amanda, who are off screen right now. And not here today with us are Naki and Maya, but they have been with us all along this journey. They have been integral parts of this group. Even though they can't be here today, their presence is definitely in this room. And yeah, they're really important parts of our group. And so that's us. That's who we are. Um, so essentially we are our young adults coming together to learn about how homelessness and housing operates, as well as the work the nonprofits do in this field. So basically that is the purpose of this group at its core, is to learn about homelessness and to like analyze homelessness. It's like learn about, what causes it, the factors behind it, um, as well as what can be done in the field of nonprofit, in the nonprofit sphere to change it and to make impact towards it. So basically we've spent this past year and a half learning so much and growing so much. Honestly, it has been a transformative journey being part of this group, and yeah, honestly, it's just been really good. Thank you. Um, So, the Youth Action Network, aka the Network, is a group of young adults from across Connecticut with lived experiences of housing instability and homelessness, learning how to conduct participatory action research. Um, so one of our so one of our members isn't in the state technically, but she's still a part of the group, of course, and she brings in such good insight from out of the state, which we really appreciate. Myself and the member Naki, we are from Middletown. Amanda lives in Ansonia. Um, Caitlin in Bridgeport, and Angel in Hartford. So Samaya and Hamden, I believe. So yeah. So in the summer of 2023, we convened with 6 members. The Youth Action Network convened with 6 members to build consensus around an area of interest for our participatory action research efforts. Um, so So basically, we wanted to basically find an area of interest and like really dig into that really. So like this whole process for us has been from, you know, learning about what we want to do, from getting into that, from to the point of our interviews has honestly been like such a learning process for us, for all of us, honestly. And throughout the summer, honestly, was a very transformative time for us, you know, when it relates to the work that we did. And honestly, it was a very important summer for us. It was our first summer, as a group, truly like diving into the work that we knew and diving into, what we felt passionate about and addressing housing instability, doing the good work. And yeah, so this gave us the opportunity to interview a host of people working at nonprofits around the state, which taught us so much about the work they do in the field of housing stability research. Um, so we met with some amazing people, honestly, and that was honestly one of a very big part of our summer was meeting with those people and learning more about their agencies, what the work they did, how they, how the work that they did um, addressed homelessness and housing stability and how it worked to end it, because as we all know, no two nonprofits are the same. They all have different goals. They all have different mission statements, and they all have different principles. And so it was a really great journey just to like learn all about their principles, learn about what they stand for, learn about what they value, and find a way to, possibly work with them in the future again. Um, so yeah, that was a really great opportunity that we had. Um, Throughout the course of this journey, I can speak for all of us when I say this, we've honestly grown and changed so much, and this experience has been one that has deeply impacted all of us. I can say that we are not the people that we were when we first started this group. We are honestly we've grown and we've changed so much, and we're so aware of housing stability now. We're so aware of the way the systems in our world function, and the systems in our in our country and our state function. It's made us it's made us more aware. It's made us I don't want to say more enlightened, but more enlightened in a sense. Because it's like it's one thing to be a part of your world, but to tune it all out. And it's another thing to be actively engaging with your world, actively striving towards change, actively striving to do better, to see others do better. And I can also say that that's how we've been changed. We are striving to see the people do better. We are striving to see housing stability um, decrease and if not end in Connecticut. So I speak for all of us when I say that we are very grateful to have the opportunity to be here, and we hope you enjoy our presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Caitlin Owens. I'm the coordinator at the Youth Action Hub. I have a couple slides too that I'm going to run us through. So before I do that, I just want to also, we don't have a lot of time to hear from everyone, but I did want to put an activity in the chat for us to be able to read throughout this presentation. So in the chat, we would love for you to share what age you were when you first felt like you could make a difference in your community. And if someone or something specific empowered you to feel like that, we would love to hear about that too. We won't have time to discuss those in the presentation, but we do hope that everyone reads through those responses and that it helps us all reflect on our own personal relationships with our beliefs around young people, our own experiences in youth, and also about creating change. So the Youth Action Network is something organized by the Youth Action Hub. I am the coordinator of the Youth Action Hub, and we have our other incredible staff highlighted on this slide. Angel is one of them. Some of them are, well, in the physical room with us, but also I think in the room today watching. So while the Youth Action Network is a coalition of young adults brought together from across Connecticut who meet weekly for 2 hours to do this work, the Youth Action Network can be seen as an initiative of the Youth Action Hub. The Youth Action Hub is the backbone of both the network and other participatory action research projects that extend back to 2015. We sometimes call the Youth Action Hub just the Hub, so you might hear me refer to it that way. The Hub was founded by Dr. Heather Mosher in 2015 with a group of young adults brought together to exchange expertise that they had developed around housing systems from their own experiences with housing instability and homelessness. Angel is one of those founding members, so shout that out. Something important and unique about the Hub is that we are young adult led, meaning we are staffed by young adults with lived experiences who train and work as researchers. The goal is always to be expanding our ability to bring more young adults onto staff and provide low barrier employment opportunities for them to develop as professionals and contribute to change work and housing justice efforts through community-driven action research. Something that I did want to discuss about the Youth Action Hub as a whole today is our future. 2025 will be a huge year for the Youth Action Hub. We will be leaving our home organization, the Institute for Community Research, to establish our independence under a fiscal sponsorship model, just to begin. So for the first time, we will be able to really look at who we are from an organizational perspective with more freedom to align our values and our work with our own organizational structure that we can build with all of the young adults that are on our team. While the Youth Action Network is just one of the projects at the Hub, the members of the Youth Action Network are crucial to this transition, and we see ourselves as one big team. So with that, I will hand it off to Amanda. Let's see.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda. I wanted to talk about the importance of youth housing and housing policy. Young adults bring unique experiences to housing policy discussions because they're rooted in firsthand experiences that are often missing from traditional policy framework. Young adults bring a perspective to housing policy discussions that's invaluable, but often overlooked. And many young adults have direct experiences with temporary housing situations, evictions, or even homelessness. We know what solutions make a difference in our lives and have a strong sense of how those systems should improve. Youth-led input can make housing solutions more relevant and actionable for young people facing these challenges today. The policy-making process needs the real-world knowledge of those who have lived it at every age, and many young adults act as negotiators or translators between their parents and landlords, or they have had to navigate crisis systems without any guidance or support. And they also act as caregivers for their younger siblings and peers without any of the supports or resources their parents or older adults would have had access to. All young adults deserve access to the resources that can only be identified if we are at the table sharing our experiences, not just doing trainings about our needs, but doing the research, planning, policy, decision-making, and evaluation meetings too. This approach doesn't just help young adults, it strengthens our communities by creating support systems that are flexible, responsive, and impactful for everyone. We also wanted to bring up statistics on youth homelessness. We can see the urgency of addressing youth homelessness through the data. Each year, around 4.2 million young people experience some form of homelessness in the US. And for many, these challenges lead to long-term impacts, like housing instability in youth is linked to lower educational attainment, mental health challenges, and even chronic homelessness as adults. And by prioritizing our perspectives, we're not only tackling an immediate need, but also reducing the long-term social and economic costs associated with housing instability. We also ask you to reflect on the absence of young adults and youth leadership in spaces dedicated to creating change. To help you reflect on this gap in youth voices, we asked artificial intelligence to generate an estimate of how many youth-led organizations there are in the United States. And out of an estimated 1.8 million nonprofit organizations in the United States, it's estimated that roughly 0.06% to 0.3% are youth-led. And we believe that number would be much higher under two conditions. And one is if we challenged ageism and oppression in all of its forms at the personal, community, and institutional levels. And two, if we solve the problem of housing affordability for young adults. From data to action, I want to talk about the significance of participatory action research, or PAR, in young adults at the Youth Action Hub. PAR influences everything that happens at the Youth Action Hub. From home, we work together, from how we work together in the network to how the hub is staffed, and it has been a crucial part of all the Youth Action Hub's past work. This means young adults with lived experience are not just subjects of research, we are co-researchers. We help shape the research questions, collect data, analyze the findings, and develop the solutions. This process ensures that the research is deeply rooted in the reality of young people's experiences and needs. And by centering youth voices, we ensure that the solution we propose are more relevant, actionable, and effective in addressing the real challenges young adults face. Affordable housing is a focus developed by our group at the network that was discovered as we explored our own relationship to housing justice work, but housing systems have been a priority at the Youth Action Hub since the beginning. In 2016, the hub completed a study that examined young people's experiences with trying to access housing services through 211. And the purpose of this study was to improve access to housing resources for young people in Connecticut. And a total of 200 young people ages 14 to 24 years old across the state of Connecticut were recruited to participate in the study. The research used a rigorous mixed method design, and some highlights of the study included findings that young people were often unaware of available resources, unwilling to use a helpline to be connected to services, and face significant transportation barriers in getting connected to services. Young adults are reaching out to people they know and trust, and they prefer to only talk to one person, especially if they're sharing their personal stories. This research led to the hub advocating for the creation of the Young Adult Navigator position in the state of Connecticut, and Housing Partners fund and support today. In the years leading up to the pandemic, the Youth Action Hub worked to keep its momentum by strengthening its partnerships and continuing its work with the organizations in the Reaching Home campaign. From 2017 to 2019, the Youth Action Hub conducted an evaluation of the Connection Start program to better understand what key factors drove the outcome of young adults in their rapid rehousing program during their participation and a year out from their exit. Today, the Youth Action Hub keeps the PAR process alive through our work in the network by continuing to provide low barrier employment opportunities for young adult staff, and through a project testing the feasibility of using a Discord server as a virtual drop-in center for young adults experiencing housing instability in Connecticut, which began as a project in 2022, but launched as a formal IRB-approved study in 2023. Now I'm going to pass it on to Skylar.
Hello. So you're probably wondering, what is PAR? To define PAR and explain its purpose, PAR is about bringing together research and action to create real change in communities. What makes PAR unique is that it centers the voices of those who are most impacted by the issues being researched. At the Youth Action Hub, this means that young adults like us are working as co-researchers using our lived expertise and individual skill sets to identify issues that are important to us and impact our lives, shape the research questions, gather data, and analyzing it, and use it to push for change that will directly benefit us and our peers. PAR is deeply tied to social justice. It's about empowering marginalized voices and addressing inequalities by allowing communities to define and pursue the changes they need. Globally, PAR has been used to tackle many social justice issues with transformative impacts. For example, in Chicago, a youth-led PAR initiative called Project NIA collaborated with young people from under-resourced neighborhoods to explore alternatives to juvenile detention. Another example, in Detroit, a community-based PAR project called the Detroit Urban Research Center involved local residents in researching air pollution impacts in underserved neighborhoods and successfully pushed for their stricter regulations on nearby industrial facilities. How PAR is a cycle that centers youth voices at every stage. The cyclical nature of PAR means that we're continually improving and adapting, making our work impactful and directly relevant to young people's lives. This cycle is influenced by the work we accomplish, conversations we have with our partners, the findings in our research, and feedback. We believe that research and community cannot thrive without one another. YA understands that PAR is not the only way, but we are excited about how we are able to use it and talk to others about what value it's brought to our work in creating change informed by lived experience and rigorous data collection. So we also did landscape analysis. And what is a landscape analysis?
Sorry.
Why is it essential for understanding housing services and identifying gaps? A landscape analysis is a research method that is very useful in the exploratory phase to help refine a focus to the most impactful area. In the context of our work, this method has been our way of developing a map of the current state of things as it relates to affordable housing. A landscape analysis has 4 components. 1, identifying stakeholders. Ours being CT, Fair Housing Center, Partnership for Strong Communities, CT Housing Finance Authority. And in the future, we would like to hear back from young people and how they are impacted by the change that is happening. We also have used our power mapping to, sorry, I lost my place. Thank you. We've also used power mapping to understand the power dynamics at play in the housing affordability work. We want to understand what kinds of resource gaps and disconnections there are that impact young adults. From the research so far, affordable and fair housing expertise needs to be more accessible, and there should be more pathways to advocacy and decision-making. But we cannot truly know for sure without engaging in further community conversations and testing solutions. Policy review is another component of a landscape analysis. For us, zoning and tenant advocacy work came up a lot. There has also been curiosity in our group as to how history and discrimination inform housing policy today. We've included on this slide some quotes and from conversations we had in our research efforts so far that we felt highlighted what kind of information we are looking to get out of our initial landscaping efforts. So that's like on the next slide.
Right. Sorry, I was totally off base there when I interrupted you. Okay, so we are on, hello. Okay, so the first major research question we created together was, what is the relationship between housing affordability and a young person's relationship with their community or neighbors? We were also really interested in the subtopics of safety, disability, accessibility, transportation, and mental health. We created subcategory questions like, what is the relationship between safety and affordable housing for young people in Connecticut? How does disability impact affordability? How does affordability impact mental health? Does building positive relationships with neighbors contribute to housing stability? These are still questions that drive our efforts, our curiosity, and will play an important role when we engage young adults in future conversations. But in developing our methods, we realized that we wanted and needed more meaningful definitions and a deeper understanding of affordable housing so that we would have more informed ideas to explore with young adults as they shared with us their experiences. These decisions led to our decision to develop our landscape analysis, and we developed new questions like, who are the key stakeholders and decision makers in Connecticut impacting the affordability of housing in Connecticut? What is the official definition of affordable housing, and whose definition of affordable housing is the official definition? What do experts in the field think about the definition of affordable housing? How has history influenced housing affordability policy? How does fair housing and discrimination influence housing advocacy? There were many great partners who were willing to have conversations with us and gave us a lot to think about. The need for more diverse perspectives coming together was a key theme from our finding, which came from our interviews with experts in the field, like Partnership for Strong Communities and the Connecticut Fair Housing Center and the Finance Authority. Access to information about how change happens is another key barrier to actually making change happen in the first place. The definition of affordable housing is something that we heard time and again is highly technical, but generally, even the experts we spoke with all had their own personal definitions that were similar to one another. Experts and lawmakers are often thinking about solutions that may take generations to feel the benefits of, which is important work, but it also left us wondering about what the solutions might be for our generation today. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Marceline. You ready?
Okay, so life throws curveballs. We all know this. Life happens to each of us, whether we like it or not. We don't have control over that. We don't have control over that, but we do have control over, however, is how we react to it. It is imperative that we give one another grace and support. Finding ways of keeping a through line of momentum for the collective is hard amidst those individual challenges, but it is necessary and important. Basically, we have to keep going. Whatever it takes, we have to keep going, because when we stop doing the work we're doing, all those people whose voices cannot be heard they lose a perspective that's very, very necessary and very, unrepresented. That's very unrepresented as well. Sorry for that. So through this journey, we've learned that there's so much to do and explore. We are focusing on building partnerships and coalitions, finding where our group can make the greatest impacts, and pinpointing the areas where we feel most motivated to spend our time. This means growing our numbers at the network and our funding sources. It's part of why we're here today. Sharing our work at this conference marks an important step towards strengthening our connections and amplifying our collective voice. Without our voices, we cannot make change. Without our voices, it's like we're not there. It's like we don't have a seat at the table.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why to us that's so important. We want to make sure that we are heard for every underprivileged child, for every homeless teen, for every teen that's been kicked out of their family's homes, or thrown put in a shelter or gone through foster care. We want to make sure that they have a voice, because all of us have been through something like that. All of us have been through something, we've had to leave our houses and go somewhere else, move to a new state, move to a new city. It's all happened to us. And so we want to make sure that our voices are heard for all those youths who don't have a voice, who don't feel like their voices matter, who don't feel like they can accomplish anything in this life, because they can and they will. So in our research, we conducted a landscape analysis and uncovered that there's a critical need for education around affordable and fair housing resources. Our aim has been to document this information and find creative ways to communicate it. A question we're still exploring is, how can our work provide value for other young adults interested in housing advocacy? So we want to help bridge knowledge gaps and show other young people how they can contribute to these efforts. Because if they know, they can spread the information. Knowledge is power, you know. So our future approach to research will likely include gathering firsthand accounts from young adults who are navigating housing challenges themselves. We believe as a collective, as an agency, as a hub, that these perspectives are important and that their voices need to be heard. We're comparing these experiences with insights from housing experts to find points of alignment and points where these realities may not match. By sharing these findings, we hope to foster a stronger dialogue between young adults and those shaping the housing policy. We want them to be connected. We want there to be a level of inclusion that we are not currently seeing in that space. Thank you very much.
So looking ahead, what's next for us? As we wrap up this section, I want to highlight that we're still evolving as a group. We're asking ourselves some really big questions like what's next for us, what's actionable, what brings us joy. And these questions will continue guiding us as we build our research and strive for a future where young voices shape housing solutions that work for everyone. I really wanted to hear from every young adult on the network and what their response is to this question. The question is, what's one hope you have for our work, for how our work could shape housing policy in Connecticut? Skylar?
Well, I was kind of just hoping that our research could really reinvent the wheel and change how like this work is perceived and gives young people a chance and makes it easier for if somebody is going through like loss of home or similar situations, that it's more easy for them to access it, and so that these types of things don't happen again or don't really have to happen. Marcia?
So my hope for housing policy in Connecticut is that I want to see I want to see us get to a place in which young adults are playing a big role in housing policy, because I feel like there's so many voices across the state that aren't being heard. Because let's think of it. Who's making all these laws? Who's putting in all these bills? Who is representing us in the legislative field? It's mostly cis, white, able-bodied men. And when it's not, it's often at times also cis, white, able-bodied women. So it's like, you know, there are people who don't have a connection to those who are going through hard times, who are suffering, who are underprivileged, underhoused, undernourished. And I feel like personally, I will recognize our work here as successful when we see more young adults from all walks of life, from all different backgrounds, from all different, ethnic identities, gender identities, sexualities, or all sorts, all religions, being involved within shaping housing policy, because, they live in this state too. They reside in Connecticut, and their voices should matter. They deserve to be heard, and they deserve to know that the laws are being made with them in mind. Thank you.
Okay, Angel?
Yeah, I can go next. Hi everyone, I'm Angel. You guys already heard about me, but as someone who came to Youth Action Hub at 16 years old and I'm now 26, like this is a big, like proud parent moment right here. And this is honestly why I do this work. And so what my hope for the future is that the folks at this table and the folks at the next table will continue to keep the door open for who comes here in the future. And so as long as there are folks who are passionate about those work, like myself, Caitlin, and everyone here at this table, like we are going to continue to do that work. And so I just want to see this table get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah. For me, like the only goal today was just for this group to be able to have a chance to meet more of their people. We spent a lot of time, like we've been together for 1.5 years, and it took us a long time to develop our collective voice and who we are and our area of interest. And now I feel like we're really like a ball that's rolling. But like it's a lot of work. And so this is a huge moment for us to come together. Like this is the first time we've been able to come together in person as a group, which is huge for a group like culture, group dynamics. Like we have to be able to build those bonds, and we've come to care about each other and love each other so much in doing this work. So today is a huge celebration for us, and we're glad that you're all sharing it with us. But yeah, I think that this moment and this opportunity to meet other people is a huge moment for this group, because it will just help us in driving our direction to shape housing policy in Connecticut in the year to come.
Thank you everyone for sharing your response. For me, I really hope that we're able to present our findings to organizations and they begin to see young adults as valuable teammates, and that more people who are creating policy keep our voices and presence in the conversation and in the room, because our voice matters and our presence matters even more.
Oh, all right. I've been giving presentations for a long time, and one, I've never seen a slideshow as good as this. So shout out Skylar for the creation of this presentation. And also, like, as somebody who just yaps on and on and on, I never have time for questions. So the fact that we have like 15 minutes for questions is a huge win. So just round of applause for the group for putting this together. Hopefully that didn't hurt anyone who was using headphones. But yeah, we just wanted to open the floor. We haven't been able to see the chat while we've been presenting, but we'll look at it now. And we would love to just hear from folks. If you want to raise your hand, we can call you off mute.
Caitlin, I could read a couple of the questions that are in the chat, if that would be helpful.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. Amy asks, what is something you all would like to see your collective accomplish over the next year?
Does anybody, I'll start, but let me know if you want to add. One of the big things is like, it just takes a lot more work from a research perspective to be able to conduct research with young people. So like it was easier for us to pull together meetings to talk to experts, but I think that's a big next step for sure. And I don't know, does anybody have anything else?
Honestly, I just hi, Marceline again. So honestly, I just want to see us keep growing and keep getting,
Yeah.
I want to see us get better at what we do, because we have grown so much from where we first started to where we are now. Honestly, like the growth is unparalleled, and I just want to see us keep growing in that direction. I want to see us become better advocates, become better representatives. I want to see us also maybe gain more members. I want to see us, incorporate new voices. I just want to make sure that all people from, all walks are being heard and represented in this group and out of the group.
And on the note that Caitlin mentioned about us coming together for the first time, I would love for all of us to be able to see each other more, add new members, and like I've met so many amazing people through this work. I would love for everyone here to meet all the people that I've met, all the many partners and organizations. And so you guys are already doing work that I haven't done yet. So meeting people I haven't met. So, but I want to share.
I think I'll add, I think I really want to like keep connecting with other organizations and just network with them and just figure out what they're doing and what things they have done for the community to help, and kind of bounce back and forth ideas with each other. I think that's something I'm really interested. Is there any other questions?
Yeah, we've got a bunch in the chat. So this one from Alexis is a question a little bit about some of the research that you talked about. So did y'all notice any major differences in your group's definition of affordable housing compared to the people that you surveyed and interviewed?
I want to say something that I noticed is like the term affordable really is different depending on, you know, what you can afford and what you can't afford. It's different across the board. And I think everyone had that in mind. Like this term affordable doesn't really mean that things are affordable.
I think one thing with our research too is like there's without even doing the research, there's a disconnect between like what we learned is there's so much affordable housing work. This conference is a testament to that, like how much work is going into affordable housing across Connecticut. But like the hunch that we have in starting this research is like, do young adults really feel that, like the impact of that? And we think maybe not. And like, why not? Like, where's the disconnect? Is it just a disconnect in like affordable housing as a definition just doesn't reach young people? I think all the people that we talked to had a very similar definition, which was like housing that doesn't break your bank, whoever you are. And all of them kind of qualified that definition as like, that's my definition of it, but the official definition is like more based on income. So yeah, I think that there's definitely disconnect there, even though there is kind of like a definition that everyone agrees upon.
Okay. I actually have a question for you folks. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about how you prepared to do the research. Like, how did you decide what questions to ask, who you wanted to speak to?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So when it came to like questions, I like everybody wanted to make sure that we covered like all the bases and didn't leave like a people out because like some people I feel get more represented than most. And then there's like we're not I don't think any of us are like actually disabled, but like we wanted to think about like disabled people too. So when we asked questions, we made sure to like cover bases such as that. Because like if you're not of like I guess that class of person, then it might kind of be like an out of sight, out of mind. So we just wanted to make sure that like we had like broad questions.
I think I was looking through old materials too from our group, like rest in peace Google Jamboard, if anybody uses that. We really started with that tool. And I saw something that I totally forgot while I was prepping for this presentation, which was like this slide that was like, we had to narrow in on an area of focus around housing justice. So like, do we want to focus on discrimination, affordable housing, fair housing? I'm trying to think like areas like LGBTQ, like different areas of focus. We really had to like talk a lot. Like, I think we all agree it took longer than we probably wanted it to like land where we landed. But that's why the first year was so it was a lot of conversation. I feel like we also did probably a lot of activities as a group that like were kind of duplicative. Like we would do one activity and land on a decision, and then we'd be like, well, maybe we need more conversation and we'll do another activity. So it was like trying to figure out like what does consensus building look like with this group. And landing on affordable housing. I think one of the big things too was like attending this conference last year was like one of the first times that we really formulated, maybe we can find areas of focus for all of our topics within this definition of affordable housing. I would say that's part of the process.
That's great. So we have just 5 minutes left, so maybe one last question. This one comes from the chat, and it asks if any of you were putting together a bill up at the state government level, what would your priority be? What would you want that legislation to say?
That's a great question.
Oof, that is a great question.
We might all have different answers to that one.
I think so.
Yeah.
So I feel like the common theme through like all my responses have been representation,
Yeah.
representation. As somebody who falls within a range of marginalized identities, I just want to see, a bill. I want to see a bill that takes into consideration the lived experiences of people who look like me,
Mhm.
of people who don't look like me,
Mhm.
of people who look any sort of way, who look, any sort of way. Yeah, I really want there to be like space made for all of us. I want all of us to have seats at the table. And though we live in a world, in a country that is built off the back of settler colonialism and violence and discrimination and hatred, like I want to come up with a bill that like works against that, a bill that fights that, a bill that says no, yes, we know what this country was built upon, but also we have the power to change that, and we have the power in the here and now to change what this country stands for. And that's honestly what I would want my bill to like incorporate at the very least. Thank you.
I can mention, I don't know, I want to give up my time so that Martin can mention just transportation, because that's been like a common conversation we've talked about. I don't know what it could be as a bill, but like that is something that resources need to be put towards, and
Mhm.
honestly, it is a systemic issue, so.
Yeah, I think like with housing affordability, like I think there's not a lot of housing affordability work that's geared towards young adults transitioning into adulthood. And there's not a lot of funding or resources dedicated to like finding those gaps. So like I think transportation's a big one. I think income is a big one. Like young adults don't have job history, they don't have credit scores. Also affordable housing, like different alternative models of housing that would be really great for young adults, like more shared housing opportunities, funding to build platforms to bring people together to problem solve their housing issues together as communities of young adults, I think could be really meaningful and impactful. Would y'all?
I think one thing that I think about, and I'm not sure how this would, play out, but I would really like to see more affordable, more housing presented to us that's taking income into consideration. So yeah, that's something that I'd be interested in them looking into. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you everyone. Also, I don't think we've said that yet, but thank you everyone who joined, and hopefully it won't be the last time that we are able to talk with all of you. This is, like we said, this is our first foray into public speaking as a group, so this was a big one for us, and we're grateful for everyone who joined.
Great. Well, thank you all so much. This has been a really wonderful session. And I just have to say that I feel like in the current political climate, it can be very easy to feel a little hopeless about the future. But hearing from all of these wonderful youth who are putting their time and effort into learning about these issues, participating in them, and really wanting to have their voices heard gives me a lot of hope and inspires me to continue to do the work that we are all here to do. So thank you all so much. This is the conclusion of the 2024 Connecticut Affordable Housing Conference. Thank you all so much for being here. I hope to see some of the folks in the room here at the reception tonight, and have a great rest of your day.